What's up, beautiful souls? Welcome back to another episode of the Soul of Media podcast, where we dive deep into the realms of personal growth, spirituality, raising the vibration of the masses, and yes, a sprinkle of ratchetness for all my ladies in the back. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Soul of Media podcast. I'm your host, Soulful T, and here we talk about everything spirituality, personal growth, and raising the vibration of the masses. All right. And today we have a special guest. I'm so excited to welcome Angelina, my guest on the podcast today. So please, Angelina, welcome and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Angelina. I am so excited to be here with you. I just a quick little background about me. I'm retired United States Air Force. Been through a lot of trauma, and in July of 23, I had a spiritual awakening, and my purpose was revealed to me that I should be guiding other women to heal from their trauma.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yes. So before we dive deep into all the trauma things, please give more about your background and your spiritual awakening. That sounds amazing. And for my audience too, we're going on this personal journey of self-development and discovering ourselves. So a lot of times you're going to hear spiritual awakening, having an awakening, things like that. And so that's part of like when you're truly coming into your consciousness and understanding like who you are and why you're even here in the first place. So Angelina, please tell us about your spiritual awakening and how that was for you.
Okay. So just a quick little background on that. I have 37 distinct traumas that I can count. Um,
Mm.
I went through. I look at them all as little bumps in my road, because at this point, they really are. They're just little bumps. After I retired from the Air Force, I got my degree in psychology, so I have an extensive background in psychology. I've been in therapy since I was 3 years old. I was molested when I was 3, and so immediately found those had those after effects, and so I was put in therapy. And so I've been in therapy for 37 years now. And
Mhm.
so I have a lot of experience behind there. And then I became a substance abuse counselor for a year, and I was on top of the world. I knew I was helping and I was happy with what I was doing, but I wasn't taking care of my own mental health. And so I had a bit of a crash. And
Mm.
when that crash happened, it came to a place where my family realized that I needed to go back into retirement, because I wasn't able to handle what I was going through,
Mhm.
which led to us being unable to afford where we were living. And I've moved 40 times in my life.
40.
So,
Just 40.
yeah. So, I, uh, I, I finally found a place where I was happy, and that was in Prescott Valley, Arizona. I absolutely love that place. If you ever have a chance to visit, do. It's so cool there. And so it was a double whammy for me. Not only was my trauma ripping away another career, because that's why I was medically retired from the military, was because of my trauma. It was
Mhm.
ripping away another career from me. It was also taking away my happiness, and it led to me hitting rock bottom. And
Mhm.
honestly, the day of my spiritual awakening was the worst day of my life. I have been through some shit, really bad shit. Okay. But having the one thing that I thought that was I was meant to do taken away from me, and having the first place that ever felt comfortable taken away from me, led to my absolute collapse. I lost hope for the very first time in my life. And that morning, um, we had been on the road for 52 hours. It was the day we arrived back into the state of Indiana. We'd been on the road for 52 hours, wide awake. It was a lot of sleep deprivation. So
Mhm.
I was hanging out with my family, and we were talking, and I was like, I gotta get sleep. I am so exhausted. So I went inside and I laid down, and I didn't go to sleep. The craziest thing happened, and the only way to describe it is to say I had an out of body experience.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay, so I'm lying there on my side, curled up in the fetal position, in my
Mm,
normal sleeping position, because I feel safe. And suddenly it felt like my entire body turned to jelly, like a pool. I felt like I was a pool in the bed.
mm,
And then it felt like I was falling deep. And the next thing I know, I have this feeling of freedom.
mm,
And I feel like my soul has been ripped away from my body. And now I am no longer Angelina the body. I am Angelina the soul.
mm.
And I felt free. And so I started swirling around inside of my body. And I felt like I don't know how to explain it very well because it's not explainable. But
Yeah.
I was whipping around on the inside of my body, swirling around like into the pool of myself. And then I heard two voices. And the first voice I knew as my subconscious. She's always been so mean to me. I mean, just so mean. Always so critical of everything that I was doing. But this was the very first time ever that she spoke to me in a calming, sweet voice. And she
Mm.
said, Angelina, pay attention. I want you to meet the goddess. And I was,
The goddess. Who's the
yeah.
goddess?
um, little background on that. I had been reading a book called The Mists of Avalon, and it is about the women in King Arthur's life, including Morgana, and her being one of the ladies of the lake. And
Mm-hmm.
so the goddess is named the goddess in the book, and so she doesn't actually have a name.
Mm.
So I connect her to the goddess I've been reading about in the book. And at that time, I was trying to find the right religion for me. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't quite really, I'd been Christian my whole life, but it wasn't working for me anymore. So I was trying to find the right religion. And so I honed in on this goddess and I was like, ooh, hello.
Like connected with her somehow.
And she was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
She had no form, but she was beautiful. The
Mm.
colors, it was like the only way I can describe it is like a liquid glass. I'm sorry, a liquid gas. And
Mm.
she was brilliant colors and sparkly and it's so beautiful. So she tells me, "We are going to go inside of your mind." And I said, "Okay." So, we go inside of my mind and there is a literal pop. I hear a pop. And
Mm.
the next thing I know, I'm inside of this glass conference room, which she tells me is the way to make me feel comfortable so I can assimilate into it. So then she tells me to look at myself. And I
Mm.
do. And again, it's that liquid gas and I'm brilliant pinks and purples and just so beautiful. And I see myself in my true form for the very first time. I see
Mm.
my soul. And
Wow.
I felt so amazingly beautiful. I've never felt beautiful in my life. I've always felt like I was very plain and boring. But seeing myself in my true form, immediately I felt better about myself. And so then she tells me, I'm going to give you infinite knowledge. And she did. I felt every single thing in my body. I could hear every single voice in the garage on the outside. I could hear
Mm.
every single thought and I could determine exactly who was what. I could separate it. But then it just got to be so much, too much
Mm-hmm.
to handle as I'm a mere human.
Right.
So
Right.
I told her, I said, I can't handle this. I can't handle this. And then she told me, we have complete and total control over every single thing in our body, right down to the smallest cell, right down to the smallest atom, because
Mm-hmm.
it is our space. And So exciting. And so and I was I felt every single little tiny molecule within my body. I felt every single thing. But then it got to be too much and she took it away. And she told me that she would give me 7 days to learn, and I could learn everything in 7 days, and then I could come home. And and then she opened the veil. I don't know how many of you know what the veil is, but the veil is what separates our world from the other world. She opened
Mhm,
it,
mhm,
and I was able to see on the astral plane. And the astral plane was indescribably beautiful. The closest I've seen is pictures of nebula, or or universe, the pictures of the universe. It's not,
mhm,
but it's the closest you can come to. And the colors are so brilliant, and there's so many stars, and it's so beautiful. And she told me, she said, "Are you ready? We're going to go home. You are the last little piece of me. You are
hmm,
me. I want to take you home." And I told her, "Okay." But then the outside world came in, and I heard my husband's voice outside of the room that I was in. And my
mm, mhm,
immediate thought was my husband.
mhm,
And she told me, "He is not important right now. He too is of a God. You have been together since the beginning of time. You
mhm.
find each other again." But I freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, she wants me to go home.
Like home, home, home in the sky.
Never, never come back. I was like, oh my gosh,
Like, I'm not ready.
I have 5 children. I have a husband who needs me. I can't do that. So
Right, right.
immediately I slammed back into my body,
Mm,
and I sat up and I grabbed my phone and I texted my husband. I'm sobbing. There's tears rolling down my face and the first thing that came to my mind, I tried to analyze it. I tried to make it into something real. And I
mhm,
thought, I'm having a freaking psychotic break.
mm,
And so my husband came into the room, and my higher self, afraid of the same thing, came through and said, "Brad, this is Angelina's higher self. I think she's having a psychotic break. If anything strange happens over the next 7 days, call 911. Oh, and she doesn't want to die."
oh, let's put that out there first.
Right. So
Oh my gosh.
as she's talking, I'm freaking out. I'm hearing the goddess talk to me. She's trying desperately to calm me down. "Please, please, Angelina, just stop. Stop. Just relax, calm down. You
Mm,
can live. Live your life as long as you want, but when you are done, tell me. I will bring you home."
mm,
And I calmed down. And that was the beginning of a life-changing experience. Over the next 3 weeks, I spent almost every waking moment of my day in reflection or meditation. There was one day I meditated for 5 hours. I had no idea I was in there for 5 hours.
wow.
But it came to a place where I knew I had to do something. I
Yeah.
knew that there was something that I needed to do. So I started to meditate. And I spent all of my time connecting with my higher self. And together, one day in particular, I'm not sure how long within that 3 weeks. It was sometime within that 3 weeks. I
Mhm,
connected with her and we had a conversation, and she told me we needed to save my inner child. My inner child was stuck in the deep dark recesses of my mind, and
mm,
we needed to go there together because I couldn't do it alone. We
mhm,
needed to go
mhm,
there together to pull her out and heal her. So we went down into the deep dark recesses of my mind. Imagine a deep dark cave, because that's always been my understanding of my repressed place, is where I put all my repression, is that deep dark place.
mhm,
It's a nasty, scary looking little cave, and inside there was no light. It was a cold,
Yeah.
dark door. And there I found my inner child and my trauma bound woman.
Mm.
He brought them to the surface into my heart space. And when I brought her and my inner child into my heart space, I manipulated my soul because I learned how to manipulate my soul. I manipulated my soul to wrap it around both of them and released all of the love and healing that was in my heart space. And when I did, there were tears coming down my face, and it felt like a waterfall. I've never cried so much in my life. But there was a mixture of sadness and release and happiness and healing and love. And there was just so much love.
Mm-hmm.
And over the next couple of weeks, this is super cute. My inner child was trying desperately to release herself from my body. She
Mm.
when I would meditate, she'd be poking at the back of my eyeball like, "Let me out, let me out."
Like you woke up the inner child now. She wants to come out and play.
So I let her go, and she floated away, and she never came back. But she's somewhere out there on the astral plane, just living her best life, and I couldn't be happier for her.
Oh, that's precious. That's so amazing. And that's such a just like a whole life changing experience that you had. Like I've heard about people who've done or who've had out of body experiences, but I haven't
Oh
experienced that
no.
myself. Well, I think I did when I was younger, but not in my adult time. So that's just like such a just awakening, you know what I'm saying? Feeling to have. Um but let's go back a little bit because you were talking about being at rock bottom. And it's funny how the universe works. When you're at your lowest, that's when you actually can rise, right? It's like not when you're on top of your thing, you're like on your game, you're feeling your best. Like, no, it's like you got to go all the way down. So there is no possible light, no ego telling you and gaslighting you of the things that you know you need to change. So I just always thought that was fascinating. Like you have to go down, you have to be broken down to be built back up in the way that you are meant to be. And
Mhm.
it sounds like that's kind of like the journey that you went through with that whole experience. And then it brought you out on like more of higher conscious, right? Like you met your higher self, you met your goddess and your inner child. Like mind blowing. That's really mind blowing because we have these different versions of ourselves, and we have these all by our like it's us, but it's like split up so we can like experience life in different time frames and things like that. But we don't realize that we still have to heal those parts of ourselves as we continue to grow, even things that happen in past lives that we didn't even know happened. But it comes with you, right? It comes with you. So, if you want, can you just go into a little bit about the trauma that you experienced and some of the steps that you took to kind of like release yourself from that after the awakening?
Absolutely. So, I'm going to start with the childhood sexual trauma. I was traumatized by my grandfather, and then 2 years later by a 16-year-old, and then again when I was in the seventh grade by a gentleman in his 80s. And so it was really hard for me to have any kind of trust for men growing
Mhm.
up, especially older men. There was only one man I trusted my entire life, and that was my granddaddy on the other side. Um,
Okay, I
uh,
see.
and so, um, and trusting him was easy because he was a big teddy bear, such a
Mhm.
big teddy bear. And so the traumatization from men just got worse. Um, I was sexually assaulted at 15 on the very close to my 16th birthday. It was
Mm.
within 2 weeks. It was a DV. I was removed from the situation, um, but the damage was done. And then again, when I was 19 years old, I was again in a domestic violence situation, and then in a narcissistic abuse relationship when I was an adult, and then again I was sexually assaulted when I was in the military. And so for me, it was always a, what am I doing? I'm to
Mm,
blame for this. I'm the common denominator. I am the one that's attracting this to me.
right, right.
And so it was difficult for me to trust men. And as a matter of fact, I referred to all men as the big bad wolf, and I was Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, wow.
So I had a very, very, I wasn't anti male. As a matter of fact, I was the exact opposite. I was very, very male centric. I held men to a very high standard. And I was, I was perfectly happy being in a male dominated world because
Mhm,
I
mhm.
felt like, well, they were on this pedestal, and it doesn't matter what trauma I went through, those men were always on that pedestal. And so I always found the fault with myself. So when I came to a place of healing, I had to look deep into myself and really forgive myself for being who I am. It's not my fault. And it was something that it really took a lot for me to realize it's not my fault. And that's where the healing of the trauma bound woman was. She was curled up. Did you ever see Interview with a Vampire when you were a kid?
Yes,
Okay, do
that
you
was one.
remember the pose that Claire and the other vampire were in when they got hit by the light? They're like kind of curled up like this, arm in arm.
Mhm.
That's what they looked like. They were
Oh,
hugging each other, scared and alone in the dark.
mm,
So when I released her, I gained my strength back. I was
mhm.
able to go, you know what? Just because I had bad people in my life doesn't mean I attracted them. I was just the innocent bystander. And the reason why it ended up happening over and over again was because it was conditioning for me. I was conditioned from such a young age to be completely and totally subordinate to men.
Mhm, mhm.
And even when I was in the military, I felt that exact same thing. I had to work harder, push stronger, do everything in my power to be better than the man next to me because I had to hold up to that standard. Not because I was in my own strength, but because I had to be on the same level. And so I
Right.
held myself down here and pushed myself and pushed myself and pushed myself to be up here, but I wasn't
Mhm.
happy. I wasn't doing anything for myself. I was just pushing.
Yeah.
And so when it came to the releasing of the sexual trauma, oh my God, it's done amazing things for my sex life. No, no, I don't mean to be too much information, but
No, this is keep it real because that's something that happens too when you release that because you like that was the sacral chakra is blocked
yeah,
from that. So yeah, I know that has a lot to do with women who have dealt with that in their lives as well.
yeah, absolutely. And it's completely different now with my current husband. Um, I have that ability to allow myself to relax. I can stay in the moment. Whereas before, it was always, I have to dissociate from this because bad things happen to me when people touch my naughty parts.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and being able to release that made a huge difference in my life completely. And it wasn't even just for with my husband either. It was with myself. It before any kind of self-pleasure had been perfunctory.
Mhm.
It was I need to release this stress. I need to. It wasn't a this feels good.
Like
It
a
was
pleasurable type of thing.
it was a
Yeah.
compulsion. And then that's exactly what it was. It was compulsion for me. So, being able to relieve myself of that sexual trauma didn't just help me here, it helped me everywhere because now I can allow myself to feel even the touch on my skin, right here. This was different 8 months ago.
Mhm,
And now
mhm.
I'm connected. I'm connected to everything within me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful because like you essentially gained your power back. You went in there and you decided that I'm no longer going to be the victim and I'm going to be the hero for my life. I'm going to save my inner child. I'm going to save that trauma-filled woman and release them. Because a lot of times when that happens, they feel where women feel like that it's their fault, right? Like it's their fault. Like they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they somehow wore something that attracted this into their lives, when no, that's not it at all. You're not at fault for what happened to you, but it's still your responsibility to free yourself. You know, it's like it's not your fault that they did it, but you still got to take responsibility so you won't stay there, right? Because if you stay in that position of being a victim, you're looking for someone to validate your victimhood. Like, yes, this happened to me. I am this person, and I'm always going to be like, no, you don't have to be that. You don't have to identify as that. But that's so beautiful that you actually had the out of body experience to go and release your inner child, release them so that so you can be free, right? And so you can continue to live your life and not living in the past. And it's unfortunate that those situations have to happen, but the universe is always trying to teach you something,
Yeah.
right? It's like just trying to teach you something. And sometimes when those offenses kind of repeat themselves, you got to have to step back like, okay, what's going on here? Right? Like what is going on here? Like did I not learn the lesson? Like what's going on? And so it's good when you have to like the sometimes it's drastic, sometimes other people kind of intervene, sometimes spiritual angels intervene, because like you said, when you're at that rock bottom and you see no way out, you need something to kind of come and kind of snatch you out of yourself. Like, look here, all right? Like we're trying to evolve you, we're trying to move you to that next level of transition, but you're still back there in the cave. Get out of that cave, come out of there, you know. So that's amazing that you actually like went through that process and was like able to heal yourself. So now you're free, your sacral chakra is open, you can love yourself. And that's something too, like something with that touching. Like I've never been touched, but I feel like maybe in a past life I dealt with it because I empathize deeply with children and women who have gone through those situations. And I just feel like they just take away like something from you, you
Yes.
know. And even when you're by yourself and you want to like please yourself, like you can't even do that because you don't even feel safe, like you don't even feel like your body is yours anymore.
Yeah.
So man, like I feel how it is to like be stuck in that place. So finally you can like, all right, my body is mine. My body is mine. My sexuality is mine. My sensuality, and it's mine to discover. No one can take that from you. You know, like no one can take that from you. So I applaud you again because that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. A lot of people stay that inner child and wounded, but that's part of the evolution, that's part of us growing. Like we have to release ourselves from those past traumas so that we can continue to grow, continue to learn, and we're not dealing with the same karma loops over and over and over again. So yeah, so if you can like can you just give the audience maybe 3 steps of like overcoming that trauma if they're dealing with whatever type of trauma, not just sexual, but whatever type of trauma, how can they begin to actually step forward and claim their power back?
Oh, this is such a good one. I'm a little sad you're eliminating me to three because
Well, that's 3 for now because they gotta actually book with you to get the rest.
okay, so the very, 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 very first step is meditation. And
Mm,
my number one meditation that I always tell everybody to try to start first is
mhm,
it's 21 days. You do 21 days. It's 12 minutes long. It is a gratitude meditation, and it is a fantastic thing because she just says thank you over and over and over again for different things, and it really teaches you to be appreciative of the things that you have. Now, when you go to the next step, this is where it gets a little difficult. Now
mhm.
you got to feel that gratitude for what happened to you.
Now hold on now. Now hold on, Angelina. Now you say I gotta say thank you for this terrible thing happening to me. Break
Yes.
that down because I'm already feeling some kind of way.
I will give you the perfect example. So, trauma number 37 for me
Mhm.
is the suicide of my late husband. He shot himself with a 45 right after we were having an argument, and he literally, straight to my face, told me, "I'm so fucking sick of this shit." Bam. Okay.
Oh my God, Angelina, I'm so sorry.
It was the worst. It trumped every single trauma that came before it.
Mhm.
But I look at this situation and I look at it from a gratitude perspective. If this had never happened to me, I would still be living in the same house with the same man who's an alcoholic. I would still be living miserably, trapped in my own trauma, never helping anybody because I was too afraid to help myself. And I would not have grown the way that I did. I'm not telling you to be happy that somebody did terrible things to you. I'm telling
Right.
you to be grateful for the what came after, the growth you had, the strength you've gained, everything that came out of it. I can 100% say that I am grateful for every single thing that ever happened to me, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter, because it
Mhm.
made me the woman, sorry, the warrior goddess that I am today.
Yes. Mhm.
So when I say you got to start with gratitude and then become grateful for what happened to you, that's what I mean. And I know that not a lot of people agree with me on that one, but you know what? I'm going to stick by my guns and tell you that finding gratitude in everything that happened to you, bad or good, is where you need to start because gratitude changes our vibration.
Mhm. I totally
So,
agree.
and then the last part is going to be acceptance. So I say acceptance is after gratitude because once you're able to find the good, the silver lining in your cloud, once you're able to find the good that came of it, you're going to be more capable of accepting this is what happened to me. But I'm not going to let that define me. That doesn't
Yeah.
define me at all. It created a warrior goddess. It created a person who is so strong that they didn't give in. They're still living. They're still breathing.
Mhm.
So those are my three
Mhm.
steps.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. Okay, so the first is what
Med-
again?
meditation. So
Meditation.
gratitude.
Yes, meditation, and then gratitude, being just thankful for whatever the situation is, and then acceptance, right? Accepting it and being open to it happened for a reason. Now, where is this going to take me now in my life? Because it's only up from here. We can't keep getting worse, right? It's like it's only up from here. So, okay, all right. So yeah, that's a good place to start. I know there's a lot that people kind of have to unpack when they're going through certain like traumas in their lives, but those three core right there will get you on the right path. I really do believe that, especially gratitude. I actually have a gratitude journal right here. It's my little personal gratitude journal.
Oh,
But gratitude, yes, like that energy, the frequency of gratitude, it does change something. I don't know how or what it does, but it just changes. Like, okay, thank you for that. Just thank you. I need to receive that for whatever reason. Thank you, and so that's so important, just having gratitude for everything that happens to you, like you said, the good, bad, and the ugly, because you never know how that's going to evolve. Usually bad situations turn into good situations, and good situations turn into better situations. But just having that core of like gratitude within everything, I think it kind of helps your frequency stay from like getting too low,
hmm
right? Like whatever you go through, it's like, okay, that wasn't so pleasant, but I need to go through for some reason. So thank you,
exactly.
universe.
And
Thank
that's
you.
the thing. There's a reason why we go through what we go through. And the
Mhm.
next part of that is to figure out your why. Figure out
Mm,
what is it that the universe is trying to teach me? What is it that I can learn from this? Is there
mhm.
someone else that's gone through the same thing that I can provide support to? I am a huge believer in community. I
Yeah.
100%. believe you cannot grow unless you give back. So
Yeah.
give back by creating a community, by giving women a place, a platform where they can talk and be with each other and share with each other. And that's exactly what I'm trying to build.
You are building. Okay. We're not saying trying. We're not saying trying. We are building.
I am building it very much so.
Yes,
I can
exactly. See, don't downplay what you've built so far because you've come a long way, and you sharing your journey, sharing what you've been through is helping those women. It is giving them courage to deal with some of their hard stuff and free themselves the same way you have. And I think that that's why this co-creation thing is so beautiful within this life, journey. It's like you can't do it by yourself. We can't just learn on our own path and journey and not having other people experiences to kind of like help us along the way. It's like, oh well, she did it, well maybe I can do it, maybe I can get out of this abusive relationship, maybe I can go for that job or the business or whatever. So yeah, I feel like it's doing yourself a disservice if you don't heal yourself, really. It's like you're not going to help others become free and learn what it is that they're supposed to do if you're still stuck in your own mess, in your own way. So thank you so much for just sharing those really personal things in your life. Like, I know it's going to help someone who's listening to this podcast, because we don't know what people are going through, but we know people are going through it, right? And they just don't have the confidence maybe to open up and share it. But I think spaces like this are safe spaces to allow people to see themselves in you and in me. Like we can do it. We are warrior goddesses. Like, I feel stronger just from talking to you, just from hearing your story. Like, I feel amazing. So thank you so much for coming on today. I won't keep you in too much longer. Can you please just share your social medias where people can find you, where they can book your sessions, book your services, and then any advice you want to leave with the audience today?
Okay, so first things first, you can find me on Facebook, Freya Life Coaching. We have a great group that just look me up, Angelina Huff. I am, I think, like one of like two. That's a nice thing about having a kind of a interesting name. Um, so Freya Life Coaching, Freya is spelled Freyja. So look up Freya Life Coaching and just shoot me a message. I am available 99% of the time. I will always answer your message. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I might not get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and answer it, but I will answer it at 7 a.m. when I wake up. But, my number one piece of advice to every woman out there is connect with yourself, connect with your higher self. That's
Mm,
your number one goal in life. I don't care what you do, where you work, what your career is, what your purpose is. Your number one goal is to connect with your higher self. Because once you're able to connect with her, you're connected to the divinity. Because guess what your higher
mm.
self is? Your connection to the divinity. So
Yep.
connect
Divine
with your
source.
higher self, have conversations with her, embrace yourself. And honestly, it's so much more beautiful in life. It really is.
Yes, yes, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Angelina, for joining me today. We definitely will be talking and co-collaborating, right? I want to say co-create and co-collaborate, same thing. We will be doing some things together. Thank you again for coming on and sharing. And yeah, we will wrap up here. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Soul of Media podcast. Please share the podcast with your friends, family, anyone who you think can get enlightenment from this podcast. Oh, and also join the High Vibe Tribe on Facebook and our Facebook group. And if you want to know when the next episode will be dropping, join the Soul Tribe texting group. Just text Soul Tribe at 844-751-1267. All right, y'all. Just remember, you are magnificent, here to shine your divine light. So stay hydrated, motivated, and elevated. Peace.